Hello everybody and welcome to this video. My name is Hannah Vinu, and within this video I want to talk about belonging and finding home. And yes, this is a deep topic. There's so many things to share about this topic or those topics. I myself have this is like a big part of my personal journey, like finding home. I've always had struggled with a sense of belonging and since my childhood, I guess, or at least since my teenager years. And I felt disconnected from my environment. I felt disconnected from myself more than anything. And with that also came depression. So for those of you who already know me or who don't know me, I suffered from severe depression until 2017. So for almost 20 years of my life. It started when I was a teenager, and yeah, it got really bad. I had to take medication and all kinds of stuff. I also had other ailments, and so a lot of stuff, and a lot of my issues were connected to those topics. And with belonging and finding home on this planet, and of course, spoiler alert, home is where your heart is. Literally, not, of course it is also where you feel most at home, as in a specific place on this planet, but most of all, it is about finding home within ourselves and connection to our truth and to our purpose and our mission. So finding home, ultimately, from my experience, is the journey of developing a strong and healthy sense of self and to feel connected to one's purpose. So yeah, this is what I want to talk about, and it might even turn into a series because there's so many things to say about this. So we'll see. I will just, because I also I really want to share from my own experience, because I always find that very helpful to listen to other people's experiences, to other people's experiences, and also when it comes to specifically when it comes to trauma, and just a little short note on how I define trauma. Trauma is how I use the term, because I know that there are people who have different definitions on that. A trauma is this one big event. I actually don't use it like that. Trauma is when at some point in your life you experienced heavy emotions, heavy upheaval, or extreme upset, and in this moment or shortly after that moment you were not able to process those emotions and integrate them and integrate the experience properly, so the emotions got stuck in your system. So, and that leads to issues. So that is how I use that term, all right? So that can, of course, happen through one big event, but it doesn't have to. It can also, for example, be if you experienced unhealthy things, or if you had unhealthy experiences, or how do I say that? If you've been treated, for example, unfairly over a long period of time, the same event or a similar event happening more than once, often, then this can lead to the same degree of issue, the same heaviness of an issue than one big event, all right? So that is again, from my experience. So, and for those of you who feel depressed, who feel disconnected, who feel alienated, and you don't know, you're why do I even have these issues? Maybe you feel even guilty because of that, because you don't understand, why you would have an issue, why you would have a problem here. Be sure that there are reasons for that. There always are reasons for that. And just because you don't know them or you can't see them right now, doesn't mean that they don't exist. All right? So that is also everything I'm sharing is from my own experiences. And if I share something that isn't from my own experience, then I will say that. then I will add that. Then I will tell you that I'm not 100% sure of this or something. Of course, you know, like everybody has different experiences. So take what resonates, right? So like, because yeah, what is right for me or what has been true for me does not necessarily have to be exactly the same for you. All right. So for like developing, like if you are suffering from a lack of connection, you know, like if you feel like you're disconnected from your environment, maybe even disassociated or severely depressed, or if you know, like don't know what your purpose is and feel very lost in that feeling, if you maybe even feel despair, which is a very heavy feeling, at least in my experience. And yeah, like you don't belong, or you feel like you don't really have a place where you fit in, right? Then the reasons for that can be like, there can be various reasons for that. For example, and this is actually probably what I'm going to talk about in this video, but let's see. I don't follow a clear schedule here, or like a clear lineup. So anything can happen. Reasons for developing trauma in these topics, like a sense of belonging and finding home, can, for example, already have started within your ancestry line. So kind of like the trauma was already kind of like implemented onto you before you were even born. All right. So for example, that could have been the case, for example, if your ancestors had to migrate, out of whatever reasons, were forced to live in a nomadic life without wanting to. If there was like trauma connected to the place that they stayed, for example, war or hunger, or you know, like any kind of things that made them feel unsafe, or if they had been cast out of society, maybe even an ancestor or a whole family line that was kind of like cast out from their own family, things like that. This can, for example, already be a reason why you would have issues with that. And just as a side note, this can be different within families. So you might have developed trauma around these topics, and your siblings don't. All right. So like there are differences within those topics. It could also be similar, but or like on some level similar, but the expressions are different or something like that. Just as a side note. Yeah, so ancestral trauma. Then of course also, I already kind of like tapped on that, trauma that was coming from your childhood or your upbringing. Maybe you were forced to move from a young age. Maybe your family was forced to move. Again, like same reasons or similar reasons and more. But also maybe you have been the scapegoat within your family, or you have experienced rejection, or abandonment also, or like rejection from your friends, or like from your social group within school. Maybe you have been always like feeling like the odd one, right? Like the weird one, and like people made fun of you or guilted you, shamed you, things like that. When when we get the feeling that there's no place for us, and we're not allowed when we feel like we're not allowed to be part of the family, be part of our social group, then of course there's trauma around this topic, right? I mean, that makes sense. Also, it also makes sense that we then often lack a sense of purpose, because we live in a community, we live on a planet where we, on some level at least, depend on each other, and we need connections with others. And when we have the feeling that there is no place for us and we're not allowed to play or take part, then why would we, like, what would be the reason for us to be here? What do we have to bring to the table, right? So yeah. All right, what else? We can, I might get into all of these topics in depth, but for now I will just throw a couple of things out there. There could also be like an issue with the system you grew up in. Maybe you were diagnosed with ADHD or autism or something like that. And it's like, then of course you're not, the way you express yourself and the way that feels authentic to you might not have been in alignment with the social rules, right? Or like with the social rules. Let's just leave it with that. And that again could have led to you, like the same things that I already mentioned, like you feeling like you don't fit in. And then I actually like recently heard a term from Brené Brown, I think her name. I don't really know how to pronounce her name, but Brené Brown. And she said, like, I actually watched a little video about that, and she said that there is actually, she understood that there is a difference between belonging and fitting in. And that really, really resonated with me. And, you know, like also like kind of like spoiler alert to the conclusion, like, sorry, there's like the little mosquito again. To like belonging does not mean to fit in. True belonging comes from being connected to your truth and living your truth. That is like a challenge, all right? So that can be a massive challenge. For most humans, it's a challenge. For me, it definitely is. So what that means is that you are in alignment with who you really truly are, and that you express yourself in an authentic way, completely authentic, without, not necessarily without being afraid of being judged, but you know, like you're risking it anyways, because you understood on a very deep level that being truthful to yourself is more important. It's like way more important than anything else. And as I said, that is like, you know, like that's for most people that is quite a challenge. And that is also like, for example, the reason why we say the truth will set you free, because really being in alignment with your truth is like the highest form of freedom. Anyways, I think I will not get into that, because this is also like something that I'm still exploring. See, I'm speaking from my own experience, but I did not integrate that fully yet, because I'm still also on my way with that, on my path, on my journey. Another synonym for this. So I'm still on the way of figuring this out. I understand the concept, and I also can feel the concept in already a little bit, but you know, like for me there is a difference within understanding a concept or like a thing from logical perspective, like with your mind, and really having integrated that wisdom, because if it is integrated, it turns into wisdom, and really knowing, really like that like wisdom is like a deep knowledge of something, of a truth of something. And in order, for example, you know, like in order to heal, or like to resolve, to let go of an unhealthy pattern, it is good to understand why you probably developed that pattern. So it's good to understand the reasons for that. However, you need to have this epiphany moment, like you on a way deeper level, and that can only come if you really get into that topic, and if you really feel the truth, if you really feel the reasons, if you really, you know, like you remember, so to say, almost like as if you remember the moment when you made the decision to develop a certain pattern in order to get something. I'm actually getting a little too deep into the healing, into what healing means right now. Anyways, so like that is different. And then if you really feel that on a deep level, that is why it is so important to do shadow work, inner child work, like all kinds of healing modalities that can help you with that, in order to have those experiences, because that is the moment when things will really start to shift. All right, so like understanding it on a logical level is good, is fine. However, it will not usually not be enough in order to really change a pattern. That is the reason why so often we can understand why we are doing something, or like, you know, like, and see that we are doing something like that we are acting in an unhealthy kind of way and that it's actually not good for us. So we understand that, but still we are not really able to change it. It's really hard for us to just change it, right? And that is one of the reasons for that. Anyways, continuing. So as I said, belonging doesn't mean to fit in, but of course it can also be that you finally fit in, or like feel like you fit in, all right? It doesn't have to stand against that. It's not like being in a position of opposition or something all the time. That does not mean, that's not what I mean when I say that belonging means to doesn't mean to fit in. It's, you know, like I think like for people who develop a sense of belonging within themselves, then this topic of not feeling like they fit in actually changes. Because if you, like, again, like referring to what I was saying earlier, if you develop a sense of purpose and then this comes kind of like naturally. Then you know your place, you know your mission, you know what you need to do, and then you like a sense of purpose comes from having something to do and like having the feeling that you're taking part in something bigger than you, and that has, you know, like that there's a sense of why you're here, or like what you're doing, all right? So like that you're serving in some kind of way, like that you're, and of course like it's like always that it is recommended to be in service, like, or that you are in service with the highest good. So yeah, and I actually do believe that if you're not in alignment with your highest good, and therefore also like the highest good of all, then I don't think that there is such a thing as a true sense of belonging. I think that will always feel on some level superficial, and like a little bit, what's the word, like a little bit pretentious. So, you know, like we are trying to be someone, we're trying to be something, and like to be kind of like adapt to specific persona that we think will make us, will help us to fit in, will give us a sense of fitting in and a sense of belonging. Of course, that is a trap. And that is, I think, what I believe what Brené Brown means by this. Like, you know, like fitting in is actually creating a persona, like that, you know, like thinking like, okay, what do I think others want from me? What do I need to do? How do I need to act in order to also be welcomed at the table? All right, so I wanted to, as I said, I wanted to share from my own experience, and let's just see where the journey takes us. Literally, in my case. I always like had issues with that topic of belonging, and on many different levels and for many different reasons. So I will not get into all of those in this video, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe, as I said, I will probably make a series out of that and continue the journey with you at some other time. So let's just start with the recent, or like, yeah, we'll see, recent developments. So since 2019, I have been living as a nomad. So I haven't really had a proper like or long-term place of living since 2019. So like I'm filming this in July 2024. So that has been, I think, for 5 years. Pretty much for 5 years. So in 2019, I already wanted to move out of the town that I was living back then, because I didn't feel really at home there. And I was looking for, and I thought like, you know, like there was like I got the opportunity to go to Bali and to participate in 2 trainings that I wanted to participate in from the healing modality that I was trained in. It was called Metaphysical Anatomy, and I was going to Bali to take the course, or like the retreat actually, from level 3, and also participate in the teacher training for Metaphysical Anatomy to become a teacher of this modality. So all of that changed later on, but that's not part of this story. However, so I took that opportunity and thought like, well, maybe I can just, leave my home, leave my long-term home situation. I gave away almost all of my stuff, like a lot of stuff. I reduced my stuff, like within 1 year, I reduced my stuff to like about 12 boxes. And now I think I own like 10 and 2 suitcases. So yeah, sorry. There are messages coming in. So yeah, I took that opportunity because I thought, okay, I will go to Bali. I will participate in those courses, maybe stay a little longer in Bali, develop my business. And that was like still the business that was like designed around that mostly around that healing modality, which is not what I'm like primarily doing anymore. So that changed. And that plan like dissolved. Anyways, so the plan, as I wanted to say, like the plan was to go to Bali, stay a little longer, and then then find the place where I feel like I truly belong, and that is like the place of my own, where I can like build a long-term home for myself, where I would feel like content and fine and comfortable and connected and all these things. And yeah, so of course, that was my plan, my ego's plan, and the plan from the universe was a little different. Even though I did find that place, but I found it within myself, and or at least to a larger degree of. I'm not obviously not really done with that, because right now I'm really struggling with like settling, and one part of me really does want to settle because I kind of feel like a necessity for it, and I, like settling really gives you, I mean, it has a lot of benefits, right? Like even though I really, really love traveling now and love to be inspired and love to connect to different kinds of people and get to know different countries, see different landscapes and like, I love that. So like I'm getting really excited with that, and I kind of like also kind of the feeling like my soul on some level, I need that I need that movement, and I need those different insights or inputs and yeah, those different landscapes for inspiration, and also like it helps me to develop. Anyways, so yeah, but settling would give me other opportunities. For example, like I really would like to focus more on my business right now, to really develop like a stronger or more stable structure there, and like a stable foundation for that, and like to be more committed and like to be able to do more. Like I have like a lot of plans, and I really like this traveling all the time and moving from place to place is like really distracting. Actually, unfortunately, even though I got really good at it. But yeah, anyway, so like there is there, and also that is one of the reasons. The other reason is, for example, to build on long-term connections, long-term relationships, long-term friendships, like deeper connections, and also partnership. I haven't had like a serious, or like not even unserious, but I haven't had like a committed long-term relationship in a long time, because I've been moving so often, and I always had like other priorities, so to say, right? But I really would love to experience that again. And also like forming business partnerships, like collaborations with other people and all these things. So, and I think for right now, it would be really, really helpful for me to settle, to be somewhere, to ground, to feel more grounded. I think it also would help me to develop a better routine, for example, because I have like issues with that. I mean, yeah. So it's not too easy for me. And so yeah, I think that would really be helpful for me. So since 2019, as I said, my plan was never to be on the road for that long. My plan was to settle, to find a nice place where I could settle. I actually did find a place where I really wanted to settle. Back then I was actually in Slovenia, which I really, really loved. However, I kind of like got kicked out of there, not by the Slovenians, but by the universe. and there were other things, like there were always like challenges coming up for me big time. Oh god, since that here. Also for the astrologers of you in 2020, there was my nodal return, and my North Node is in Gemini in the 4th house. So for those of you, I might actually get back to that later, but for those of you who know about astrology, also you kind of like, you will know that this can be very related to this topic that I'm sharing, because the 4th house, for those of you who do not know anything about astrology, the 4th house is like stands for home, and for building a home and all that. So, and the North Node is kind of like, the nodes are like kind of like a compass. The South Node shows you where your soul, like all the qualities that your soul already developed and that your soul is already good at, and the North Node shows you what your soul wants to experience within this lifetime. And my North Node is in the 4th house, so my soul really would like to experience a sense of belonging and home, having a sense of home, and you know, like putting down roots and stuff like that. So yeah, and people, you know, like people brought this to my awareness in 2020, and I really tried to force myself to settle, and it did not go well. So just also as a side note, don't force yourself. If you will only get hurt, actually. I mean, it's not, you know, like, challenge yourself, yes, always good idea. Get out of your comfort zone, try something new. But you can't force yourself to do something, because, and like for me, that was like, you know, like I ended up in situations that where I did experience trauma again. Like, I don't want to say it was re-traumatizing, but yeah, I got myself into situations that were traumatic for me. On the other hand, that was also like, I don't want to say that this was wrong, that was like kind of like part of the plan, because only if we get, you know, like if we are confronted with our trauma, if our trauma gets triggered, then it has like a chance to come out. So for the last 5 years, I've been on an intense healing journey on the topic of belonging and finding home. That maybe I should have led with that. Right in the beginning. Anyways, yeah, that is really like a lot of challenges around this topic, a lot of challenges, and that is also one of the reasons why I did not find home yet. But it was good, you know, like at some point in the beginning, I didn't like it at all. Oh my God, I was like throwing tantrums all the time. And I was very angry often and very frustrated. And yeah, I mean, I felt like, you know, it was like experiencing a great upheaval. And I mean, like, it was 2020, right? Like, who didn't experience a moment of upheaval back then? But still, like, for me, that, like, it is very ungrounding and unrooting, so to say. And that is like this interesting topic. So how, I'm like just thinking for a second, how do I want to continue for this video, because I don't want to make it too long. So all those challenges and all this upheaval and uprooting and all that, interestingly enough, led to me finding home within myself, like I already said. And yeah, to understand that true home, a true sense of home, does not come from outside, but from within. From developing a very deep connection with yourself, with your soul, with your true self, right? Like actually, it's like kind of like the self for me is like a combination between ego and soul. Like the ego understanding that it is the vessel, the persona for your soul in order to bring through or embody your soul in this lifetime. And so it is actually really important to develop a strong sense of self. I know that in a lot of spiritual, I'm always struggling with that. Like it's in, a lot of spiritual teachers or something talk a lot, or schools, whatever, talk a lot about like losing the self and like giving up the ego and stuff like that. And there is, you know, like, I'm not saying that this is wrong. However, from how I see it, it is it is more like the ego taking a step back, you know, like the ego being a servant of the soul, instead of like the ego trying to lead the show. Or yeah, so like that is actually like, and I think that like actually like this thought is just coming in, but I think that is the highest expression of the zodiac sign of Leo, right? Like, because Leo is like the heart and stuff. Anyways, it just came in. I will not get into that. It is connected to the self. And yet, however, I am still getting into it. But yeah, that is like the ego, the Leo, the zodiac sign of Leo is like very connected to a strong sense of self. But it has to be in alignment with the highest good, and it has to be in service of the highest good, of spirit, of truth, and not of, you know, like your own superficial, egotistical desires. So that is like kind of like the challenge there. So yeah, like actually it's funny that, you know, like you have to experience upheaval and getting completely ungrounded, so to say, like from a specific place, in order to find yourself. Or at least that was what happened in my case. I don't want to say that everybody has to do it like that, but for me that was, you know, like how I was guided there. And so now I am someone who, like, I move into a new place like for 2 weeks or something, and like within one day the whole place looks like it's mine. And because I'm so good at making myself at home, like almost anywhere. And I say almost anywhere because, you know, like at some places I just really don't want to live. But yeah, like I'm really resilient now. Like the amount of resilience that I developed within the last 10 years is crazy. That is crazy. And, you know, like, I'm not even saying this like with like, I mean, I am proud of that, definitely, because God, I did a good job. But like, you know, like if you'd known if you had known me like 10 years ago, I was a different person. And I think many people wouldn't even agree on that, because, you know, like I kind of like, most of the time I have been like very outgoing, and people perceive me as having like a strong persona, even though that was not the case. However, like 10 years ago, I was so afraid. And actually, I wanted to get into that actually, because in 2012, I was still suffering from severe depression. I had to take medication all the time. I also took medication for ADHD, and yeah, I was, you know, like struggling a lot. And back then I also was in therapy, psychotherapy. And I had this dream in 2012. I had this dream, and it was so vivid and beautiful. And there were like so many colors. I still remember that dream because it was so vivid and beautiful. And I was in like, I saw myself in different countries. I saw myself in Spain, then something that where I thought like this could be Japan. And then I saw myself in India on this big lake, or like maybe it was, I don't know what it was. I've never been to India, so I don't know. But like high mountains and like this big water, and like I still see it in like in front of my inner eye, and it was so beautiful and so nice. And I talked about it, like I told this to my therapist, and he said that he thinks that this is a symbol for actually my desire to go travel and see the world. And I was like, really? I don't think so. I was like really like thinking about it, like, no, I don't think so. I don't have that desire. I mean, I always like really liked reading books. I read a lot of books, like especially when I was a child and also like a teenager, like when I was young actually. Not that I want to say that I'm not young anymore, but back in the days I read all the time. So I had like definitely like there was this desire for stories, right? For adventure, for experiencing and seeing, like experiencing different perspectives, seeing different things, and getting inspired and all that. However, I was not aware of that this was an actual desire of me. And I was like, I could never have like, I never imagined myself traveling, and definitely not alone, like on my own, absolutely not. not even in Europe or something, you know, like I just really, I was just way too afraid. All I wanted back then was, and like the more severe the depression got, like when it came to my early 30s, it got very, very serious, and like I experienced the dark night of the soul, like for like 2 years or 3 years even. It was like a long time. It wasn't fun. Anyway, so like it got really serious, and like the more severe the depression got, the more there was like this desire within me to just find home, like a peaceful place where I can live, like actually a hiding place, a place where I could hide, where I could like, you know, like just be at peace and nobody would disturb me. Well, yeah, that didn't go as planned. But you know, like that was like what my state of I don't want to say consciousness, but my state of being was back then. And like also like in you know, like in what was it, 2015, 2016, I had anxiety attacks, I had panic attacks. I was like, you know, like about like really, like now I would almost laugh about that. I was like, what was I freaking out about that? There was like absolutely no problem there, but I felt so unsafe within my body, so unsafe within society, so unsafe on this planet, that I was freaking out about stuff, like, and severely, like, also I felt like super alone. It was really horrible. Like that time was really, really, when I think back to that time, I definitely can tear up now if I allow it, because like that was really horrible. It was a horrible, horrible time. I felt really, really alone. Yeah, so so like that was the person that I was like 10 years ago. Not even 10 years. It was like, yeah, 9 to 8 years ago. And now, I said, like, I went to Bali on my own, I went to Slovenia, I went to Ireland, and you know, like all this time, like with very little money actually. So I mean, I went to Ireland with like, I think I had like 200 euros on my bank account. So, and you know, like I didn't think like, oh, there I will be fine. I was afraid, right? I didn't know what was going to happen, but I had like this feeling that that would be good for me to go, and I should be going, and so I did. So I jumped, right? So yeah, so now I am able to kind of like to feel at home, and you know, like no matter where I live, because I found home within myself. But I also found home through I don't want to say developing, through finding a great sense of freedom, through experiencing freedom. And that's also really interesting, right? Like that's a topic that is very important actually to think about within our times, because very often we as humans act from a place of from the need to feel safe. The safety and freedom are not the same thing, and true safety actually doesn't exist. And that's also like brings me back to a different story that I find funny now. But I listen to, no, we also have a fly in here, like it's getting really crowded. A lot of company. So like, yeah, like a story about, or like that I heard from Alberto Villoldo. I'm not really sure about how to pronounce his name. But anyways, I was like taking part, I was listening to a lecture of his or something. I'm pretty sure it was him. Anyways, he said that he was like meeting up with, I forgot, I think it was in Brazil. Is that correct? I'm not sure. But he was meeting up with an old tribe, right? Like with old tribal people, and what's the word? I want to say actually like the word that's coming in was not the one that I was looking for, but it was like wisdom keepers. That's interesting. I like that word. So wisdom keepers. And he asked them, like the elders, right, of the tribe, he asked them, with all the stuff that is happening in the world right now and within the next coming years, is there a place, what place on earth is the safest? Where would we be safe? And so all those people were like, okay, we have to talk about this, we have to sit with this. And they were leaving him alone or something, I don't know. But after a time they returned and they told him nowhere. I think it's hilarious, but because it's hilarious because the ego, of course, is really are you fucking serious? That is not what the ego wants to hear, right? Like, nowhere? Well, great. But that's the truth. There is no true safety, not as in never nothing ever will happen to you. You will find the one place where you will be absolutely safe and nothing can harm you. That place doesn't exist because we are humans. We are not designed for being super safe in this life all the time, because at some point death will come. And now I can laugh about that. But let's see how long. But so yeah, we're not. It's not our job to keep us completely safe. And the only true safety is coming from within, from being in alignment with our highest self and from living a life of truth. That is again why the saying exists: the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. Safety is freedom on some level. I don't know. It's that's actually how I experience it. But of course there's I wouldn't be sitting here and trying to make myself settle if I integrated this whole topic yet. I did not. I'm on it though. But yeah, so there lies great stability actually within freedom. Of course, only also to a certain degree. Of course, if you feel completely if you're always in chaos and always in upheaval, then there is also there's definitely a lack of structure. Chaos is kind of the opposite of structure. So yeah. For those of you who maybe already are really unnerved by this topic, because I totally seeing myself 10 years ago, if I had heard somebody talk about this like that, I would be like, oh great. Do I have to leave everything behind, go and travel and be live without money and experience severe stress? Because that's what I did. I told you that I was experiencing a lot of challenges, but I moved through those challenges, right? And I also at some point, I told you that earlier I was really complaining and throwing tantrums and stuff like that, but at some point I started to realize that this was all those challenges are actually always an opportunity for raising your vibration, for releasing an old pattern, releasing pain, and stepping up, and also developing strength. And as I'll say so many times, your deepest wound holds your highest potential. Your deepest wound holds your highest potential. Every wound, when you allow yourself to move through it and to integrate it, will unlock potential. So isn't that awesome? So yeah, I was basically I was unlocking a lot of potential within those last years. And even though it was not always fun, hell no. And as I said, I was complaining a lot. Oh my god. And I also I kind of made the commitment not to do that anymore. But yeah, I was complaining a lot and it was not always fun, but I started to see it as part of the game and as an opportunity. And that changes a lot, it does not necessarily make every experience super fun. It's not I enjoyed every experience, but it was easier for me to accept the experience and take on the challenge, face the challenge, and to uncover the goal behind the challenge. And that led to me really like feeling way more connected to myself and to my purpose, and to this planet also, like to this planet, to Earth, and to the people and all that. So now I'm actually thinking about how to end this video, because I kind of have the feeling this is already enough for one video. As I said, this will probably be I will probably make a I forgot the word for that. This will probably be episode 1 of a couple of more episodes. So like I'm like thinking of like how to bring this one to an end. Like looking at myself, I sometimes think it's quite funny, because now, like at first, like all I wanted was to settle, to find home, to find that place where I feel connected and feel like I belong. And what happened is that I just really reconnected with who I am, and developed even like who I am, because ultimately I am a person who loves to travel, who loves to experience new things, and who also like needs this kind of like that this is part of my design. But I did not know that. Like 10 years ago, I was not aware of that at all. I thought that was like just a weird kind of joke from my therapist. But so actually also again for the astrologers, I have like tons of placements in Sagittarius, including the moon and the south node obviously, and so like all in all 6 placements in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is the sign of the seeker, the philosopher, the one also like that is interested in higher learning, definitely true for me, but also the traveler, and like the traveler that travels long distances and is interested in other cultures and stuff like that. However, that part of myself was very, very, it was not integrated yet, right? Like I didn't really, there was like a lot of layers on top of that. And through all those challenges within the last years, and on my journey of finding true home, I uncovered all those layers. And I actually did find true home, but again, within myself. Within my true identity, within my true design, with like living or like becoming the person that I'm actually here to be. And so, yeah. So much to say about that. So where I'm at right now is, and I think this is what I will close with for this time, is that, like where I started was I wanted to really, really find that specific place that I could call my home. And I was very, very afraid and was very scared, and again, like suffered from anxiety attacks, panic attacks, depression, and all that. And therefore, like wanting to have this home, this specific place. But I was coming from a place of trauma, right? I wanted to find that home, that desire was there, because I didn't feel safe within myself. I didn't feel safe within society. I didn't feel safe within my life. And so I thought like having this house somewhere far away from everybody else would give me that safety. But that would have never been the case. What gives me safety is to be within myself, to find, like to have found truth within myself, to be connected to myself and spirit, because true connection always comes with both of this. You can't be connected to your truth and to yourself without like that you are spirit. So that kind of like comes together. And now, like I still have a challenge in that area, right? So the challenge for now is like that I'm actually afraid to settle now. Isn't that ironic? So at first there was like nothing that I wanted to do more than settling and finding a home and a house and like moving in. And now I'm really afraid of that, because within all that freedom I found freedom within that movement. And now there's still a belief system, I think, within me that, or I developed maybe even this belief system that I think it was already there actually, but I don't have the feeling that I should get into this today anymore, even though that was the plan. But yeah, so there is fear around settling, and fear around being tied down and not being able to move again. And often, I mean, like we all experienced 2020, right? Like that is, I think, like a very valid valid fear. On the other hand, I guess the answer also lies within, right? And again, this saying, the truth will set you free. So I guess that is like something that I will have to dive into now. I'm called to dive into that now, and to develop a sense of freedom that does not necessarily come from, or has to come from outside, but from within. Let's see. Oh God, that sounds like an omen, like a prophecy. Goodness, makes me nervous. Yeah, anyways, what I think is quite funny is that you know, like now, like I think, like I don't know many people who live like me, actually almost no one. And I think like most people would freak out if they like didn't know where they would sleep next week. So that they would completely, you know, like freak out. Even though I'm not happy about these things and I'm still not super chill with it, you know, I'm still doing it and choosing that way of living again and again and again. And I think that's kind of funny. That's kind of ironic. But and like that I'm more afraid of like being like at a place too long than not knowing where to sleep within the next on the next day or something like that. Anyways, I kind of have the feeling that this is going to change. And just as a cliffhanger for the next episode, or the one after, actually within the last weeks, I have been on an intense healing journey with these topics. And I really want to share, like give you like a really deep insight into those healing journeys. So like there was, for example, coming up a lot of ancestor trauma for about a week ago, or like 2 weeks ago actually. And I want to share those insights that I gained within those sessions and meditations that I did, because you know, like I hope that they will ultimately also be helpful for you, for those who suffer from these things, who can relate to what I've been sharing. And yeah, so like you can also like, it doesn't have to be the same in your case, definitely. I mean, we are all different. But there can be similarities, and so that is the reason why I think this is super important and can be very, very helpful when we share these experiences, and also like the insights that we, or in this case me, I discovered in these sessions and meditations. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do next time. So yeah, fingers crossed to myself for continuing on this journey and for finding home, like an actual place. And yeah, and if you like, I hope that this served you. I didn't get into the topics that I actually wanted to, that I had in mind, that I wanted to share within this video, but I hope that this was helpful and insightful for you anyways. Please like my video, share if you think that it could benefit others, comment if you have something interesting to say, or if you just want to share something. And yeah, and like if you want to check out my services, my website currently is down, but however you can just send me a message. I'm like going through I'm like working on on my website to, yeah, I hope it will be up soon again. But yeah, you can always just text me. And yeah, if you want a reading, a healing session, or a voice alchemy recording, like your personal voice alchemy recording. All right, so I hope that this video served you, and I wish you a wonderful week and a wonderful time, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.